Coming up, will Kentucky elect a new governor tomorrow?
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. In less than 8 hours, the polls will open in Eastern Kentucky for Election Day. Kentuckians will decide who will be the next governor, Democratic incumbent Governor Andy Beshear or his Republican opponent, Attorney General Daniel Cameron. Both candidates hit the campaign trail for the final time today. Grayson Passmore has our campaign 2023 coverage tonight following both campaigns.
We saw record numbers for early voter turnout in many counties across the state, and experts point to this closely contested gubernatorial race between incumbent Democratic Governor Andy Beshear and Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron as the reason, both of whom made final stops across Kentucky Monday. A large and loud showing for Beshear in Lexington and one of his final efforts to get voters to the polls Tuesday.
Grateful on election eve to be in the town I was born in, the town I went to school in, a Fayette County public school graduate.
Beshear promised his 11% raise across the board for public school employees. He again touted economic investments and a record low unemployment rate. But this stop, Beshear also introduced Hadley Duvall, the woman whose story would become a focal point of the abortion debate in the governor's race. Beshear has repeatedly said he will continue to fight for abortion exemptions. Cameron has most recently said if exceptions for rape and incest were brought to his desk, he would sign them.
We are standing here tonight more optimistic, more enthusiastic, more energetic about our future than at any time in my lifetime.
Cameron was met by dozens of supporters in his hometown. But before his final stop in Elizabethtown, he stopped in Lexington, where he said he's ready to take this state in a different direction.
They can't believe that we have a governor here in Kentucky who would veto legislation to protect women's sports from biological males.
Cameron touted his catch-up plan to address what he calls significant learning loss after the pandemic. And he once again promised to eliminate the state income tax.
And I encourage people that are watching, that are listening, to get to the polls tomorrow to demonstrate a resounding voice for common sense values.
All eyes are now on the election results Tuesday night. Polls open at 6 a.m. and close 6 p.m. local time. In Lexington, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
The statewide turnout for early voting was up compared to last year, but absentee votes were down. The overall prediction for voter turnout is around 42%. There are many state laws to keep the integrity of elections, including no politicking within 100 feet of a polling location. Secretary of State Michael Adams says there's also the automatic recount law that was recently passed in the state.
I don't know that we're going to have any races that are statewide that'll be close enough to require an automatic recount, but it's possible that will happen. I think the closest race of all the races is the governor's race. In the 2019 governor's race, we had an outcome that was decided by less than half a percentage point.
Of course, Adams has his own race. He'll be squaring off with Democratic candidate Buddy Wheatley as he runs for re-election. And we want to remind you, polls open tomorrow at 6 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. If you are in line at 6 p.m., you will still be allowed to vote. If you do not know where to cast your ballot, you can visit govote.ky.gov to find your polling location. And of course, join us right here on WYMT and WYMT.com tomorrow night, beginning as the polls close at 6 for the up-to-the-minute results as they come in. Always an exciting night. Well, firefighters rushed to protect several homes from forest fires in Harlan County today. Hundreds of acres have burned in Harlan County alone. Volunteer firefighters in the Everett's community joined State Division of Forestry firefighters Monday afternoon to work to contain a fire that was coming down a hill close to several homes. Fires have been burning in many eastern Kentucky counties since Saturday.
Somewhere north of 800 to 1,000 acres. Currently burning. We've got personnel stretched about as thin as we can. trying to cover fires that are active at this point.
A state of emergency was declared in Harlan County due to the fires over the weekend. Officials urge you not to burn anything outdoors right now at any time due to the dry conditions. We still do not know the identity of one of two people killed in a Perry County house fire. It happened Saturday near Bulin. State police say they are still waiting on a positive ID for one of the victims. It's also still not known what started the fire. The other person that died was 45-year-old Jamie Wayne Stacy. His funeral will be Wednesday at 1 at Engle Bowling Funeral Home in Hazard.
Well, we are tracking some dry, also mild weather across the mountains. Also watching out, though, for some smoky weather in some areas. Here's a live look from our studio overlooking portions of Hazard. This is close to the ARH Medical Mall, and you can see those flames back in the distance as fires continue across our region. That current temperature is 61 degrees, so once again, we are above average as we go into tonight. Most of us in the upper 50s and middle 60s, up to 63 for Jackson, also Pikeville, 64 over in Prestonsburg, and 48 over in Manchester, a cooler spot. Also in Southwest Virginia, some cool spots as well. But again, most of us are dry, also mild at this hour. A clean sweep on first alert pinpoint Doppler, and that dry weather will stick around as we go into tonight, all thanks to high pressure. Those lows for most of us in the upper 50s and lower 60s as you wake up on Tuesday, possibly some 80s by Wednesday, but those rain chances and cooler temperatures are on the way. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Kentucky State Police are investigating the death of an inmate at the Bell County Detention Center. Troopers were contacted today by jail staff regarding the death. The name of the inmate has not been released. The Manchester Police Department is investigating an armed robbery. It happened at the vape shop on Old Highway 421. There's a picture from surveillance footage. It appears the suspect wearing some sort of mask. If you have any information, call the Manchester Police Department at 606-598-8411 or message their Facebook page. Congressman Hal Rogers, Senate President Robert Stivers, and other community and state leaders gathered at the Eastern Kentucky University Manchester campus today to announce several new projects. WYMT's Olivia Calfee was there.
Millions of dollars were announced on Monday for dozens of economic development projects in Manchester. Congressman Hal Rogers and Senate President Robert Stivers say they are excited to bring hope and a bright future to the community.
It's most excited that you're seeing an Eastern Kentucky town that has had a lot of problems over the years, as many Eastern Kentucky towns have, get help to invest, not just to maintain, but to invest and grow jobs and create a community.
Both working with One Clay County, which is a group of leaders working to revitalize their community through tourism, entrepreneurship, and community development. One large announcement was $2.2 million federal dollars earmarked by Rogers for a downtown development project.
Senator Stivers began to show me the project over 2 years ago. And he said a key part of that is Marketplace downtown Manchester. So I was able and honored to earmark $2.2 million for that particular project, the renovation of the downtown Manchester around the Marketplace that will be built there.
And a large private investment was announced as out-of-state investors are making their way to Clay County in the form of bourbon. Blackstone Distillery partner Trevor Lee says they knew Manchester was where they needed to be.
And the deeper we got into the rich history of this region, the more passionate we became about this is the right spot for us. This is the right place for our investment. And so we are excited to now finally get started with the more tangible aspects of our project. So these are construction activities, ordering distilling equipment.
It is expected to be approximately 15,000 square feet, including a restaurant and tasting room. The Blackstone Distillery will also be a new addition to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. In Clay County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
Lee says they hope to begin construction in March of 2024 and hope the distillery will be open in 2025. About $10 million is being privately invested to make that project happen. Coming up on Mountain News at 11, one Eastern Kentucky community is hosting drowning prevention courses.
Plus, warm weather will continue on Election Day. Your Tuesday forecast after this break.